From the fastest 2.5-mile track in the circuit to the fastest mile track in the surface, we take on the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware this week. We are on the back road. This is NASCAR gambling. Let's get at it.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Stay away from the stage.
Happy early Thursday evening, everyone. A little bit earlier on the back road this week. Usual cast of characters here, Elliot Hicks, Seth Woolcock, and Rod Villagomez. And we are hyped up for Miles the Monster to come in and have his wrath on the NASCAR Cup Series as we head to Dover International Speedway. How's it going this week, guys?
Boys, we are absolutely buzzing. We are just an hour away from maybe the best time of year for us football nerds, the NFL draft. I'm excited for it. We're also heading to Dover, which is a little bit of a fruity track, hard to compare it to. So I got a little bit of a fruity drink poured up this week, boys. I'm ready to get after it. Rod, how you doing, our friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I didn't have my tequila sunrise. I've been drinking tequila sunrises lately. I just forgot to pour one. I've been frazzled all day, but yeah, I'm excited. Dover's one of my favorite tracks because I watched that 48 car dominate that track for so many years.
Yes.
And I love that. I love everything about it. Love the mile, love the Miles, the Monster. It's just so much lore. I wish I could go there one day just to see the big track and this tiny track and the big track, you know?
Mm-hmm. It is pretty neat. I've been to Pocono, was my first track, and then I went to Dover back in 2009, I think. Pretty neat place.
Yeah.
Don't know much about the race, but I'm pretty sure it was a Jimmy Johnson win. Like you normally there.
Yes, I'm calling a back road reunion in a couple years at Dover. Let's get down in Delaware, baby. I'm ready for it. How about it, Elliot?
There we go. All right. But before we look ahead to Dover, let's take a quick look back at Talladega in the rear view. So if you watched the show last week, you know that the back road did not quite have as much of a card as we would normally. And we got a few check marks here, though, Seth, even on a lighter card.
Yeah, let me tell you. First of all, let's not trust these young bucks out in front of these super speedways. Noah Grayson, Harrison Burton, around and around and around they went, man. But, you know, I think we approached it the right way last week. We took a couple outrights. They didn't pay off. Christopher Bell really kind of let us down, wasn't competitive. But we did take that Joey Logano and Ricky Stenhouse special on Caesars, which felt good at times. Stenhouse was making runs. We saw Logano at different times making runs. Didn't come to fruition. Laid the absolute juice and just hammered down on that Todd Gilliland top 20 minus 130. That ended up coming, very, very favorable to us. So I was happy about that. Hit the Riley Herbst matchup as well. And that's how we have to take it. We came out plus 0.5 unit positive. And for Talladega, that's a win in my book. Rod, any better for you guys? Obviously, always a bag of mixed results here at these super speedways in NASCAR.
Hey, listen, we started out well. I mean, we started out Hamlin to win the pole at 11-1. Then we were like, hey, man, Talladega's probably looking pretty good for the rest of the weekend. And then, of course, well, we know all hell broke loose for it. I mean, we did get an Eric Jones top 10. That was a nice little pull. It was only plus 120, but it still was pretty good. Had Gibbs and Haley in a matchup, and then Herbst and Gragson in a matchup. But yeah, I mean, again, we were looking good at certain points through this whole race, and just as quickly as it looked good, did not look good. So frustrating all the way around.
And I saw a horror story on Twitter. Someone was, I think it was actually a country singer who was up 65,000 in DFS and betting going into that one of those last laps and then finished in the red. And that's just how it can go here. So we'll keep that in mind. But Elliot, you kind of wrote about it in your column this week. We're heading to a much more predictable 5 or 6 weeks, give or take the All-Star weekend.
Yeah, that is true. That was the subject of my roughly monthly Through the Field column here on In Between Media, is that we've had all this craziness. We've had Daytona, Talladega out of the way. We've had Martinsville Paperclip out of the way. Coda out of the way. Talladega's out of the way. And now we're just on some of the cookie cutters, some of the places we've been. We used to go year in, year out, twice a year. I know Dover's not that way anymore. All-Star Race is going to be more fun. I'm sure that'll be a nice, fun little show we look ahead to. But we do have Dover right ahead. Let's look at the horizon forecast for Dover.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Unfortunately, some of our Dover forecast has some rain in the mix here. We saw in the Xfinity side, Carson Hocevar was supposed to drive the Spire 77. They pulled out because they're expecting qualifying to get rained out. They're going to focus their efforts on a week where it's not going to be so rainy. That could affect some of the P and Q bets, right, Seth?
Yeah, well, first I'll say we don't need Carson in any more series than he's already in, so I'm happy that actually happened for betting purposes.
Yeah, I like the kid, but yeah, he's a bit of a firecracker. You know?
Yeah, not looking forward to the day he gets up in Cup and trying to handicap that bullshit. But yeah, so we definitely need to be cognizant of practice and qualifying. It's gonna be a wrench in it if not. Coming into this race, we kind of have the stages 120, 130, 150, a little bit unique compared to some of them here. And I think the headline, Rod, is it Chevy heavy? That's the question mark. That's where the industry is going this week. For just 2 of last 21 Dovers have been winners for them. That's been our guy, Kevin Harvick, over there in that number 4 car. Chase Elliott, of course, winning last year, holding on through a rain delay into Monday. Rod, do you see any discrepancies that are you going to be hammering down Chevy here? Because I did take some notes, and it does look like on these intermediate tracks so far this season, they're the cream of the crop.
So, and more specifically, it's Hendrick Motorsports that has been the class of the field here at Dover. We talked about it just before we came on. Jimmy Johnson has a stranglehold on this. In fact, Miles the Monster has a 48 car in his grips, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that is the house that Jimmy built, basically. So, and his teammates have sort of taken that mantle. We've seen Chase Elliott do it several times over.
Yes.
Kyle Larson, while he's won in the 42, he is now a Hendrick driver, so he still has some dominance on this track. We talked about Dale Jr. Being good on this track as well. So as not only a junior motorsports driver, but a Hendrick Motorsports driver as well. Yeah. So
they had the 1, 2, 3, 4 finish here a couple years ago also.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. This is a track on which, and I know, you can kind of research your way into a certain mindset, but that when the trends are this heavy, sometimes you just can't get away from it. Sometimes you have to trust what you see on paper. And, again, it's been kind of an up and down season for Hendrick so far, but if there's a track for them to get back on track, pun intended, this is it.
And Rod, I love that you're kind of backing Hendrick and you're saying, sometimes it's fun to get away from the trends. It's fun to buck them, but this might not be a place to, because they have won 22 races here as an organization, 2 straight. And Penske, just for comparison, has not won at this track since 2012. For having some of the top drivers in this Cup Series, it's shocking to hear that. And I just went back through the other 2 intermediate tracks we've seen so far this season. Las Vegas Auto Club. I took all the top 5s by manufacturer, 7 Chevys, 1 Ford, and 2 Toyotas. So that kind of tells you that we should be a little bit Chevy heavy this week. And I do think starting position matters, as it has all season long. It's harder to pass in this car. We know we don't need to get into it. We don't need to be some of those angry NASCAR fans on Twitter. However, 76% of the winners here at the Monster Mile have come from that top 10 position. So let's keep that in mind. We want guys who are going to qualify fast. So that's kind of all I have for trends, data, and facts coming in here. Other than, what about the pit roads? Elliot, do you think the pit roads are going to come into play here? They're only 2 wide, a lot smaller than most of them. However, it's not the classic 43 car grid. We are down to, less than 40 now at least.
True. And I mean, Dover's not a new track. It's different. The Clash things are a little tighter. Obviously, they don't do like pit stops at the Clash. That was a bad example. Good job for me there. But these guys have been doing it for a while. I'm sure you'll have 1 or 2 incidents where guys will beat and bang, but I don't think it's going to be enough of a problem to warrant factoring it into our betting cards this week.
Rod, when you looked at this, did you look at Auto Club or Las Vegas? Were you comparing those track times, anything like that? Because this is qualified as an intermediate, but again, it is a very unique track in its own way. Just ask Jimmy Johnson.
Yes, please do. No, and Cody and I talked about this on our show as well. And we talked about how, Phoenix is a mile track as well, but you can't necessarily compare Phoenix to Dover either because it's a different banking. It's a lot faster Dover is than Phoenix, the short flat tracks that we're used to seeing these miles. So, again, we didn't really look at too many comp tracks because you almost can't compare anything to Dover. And when you look at the data, when you look at what these cars do on Dover, it doesn't translate to many of these other intermediate tracks or even mile tracks at that. So kind of just looking at what we did on Dover and what we did on Dover last year too, because again, that's the first time in these next gen cars. So again, I love comp tracks just for a glance at whether I'm on the right track, in my research. But I almost usually always just take the track by itself because they're all behave differently. And if there's a trend on intermediates, maybe I'll go there too. But yeah, I tend to just like to take the track for the track.
Okay. Luckily, we do have at least one race in this next gen car here at Dover. So we will be factoring that in to our recipe for success heavily this week. Elliot, what do you say? Let's go ahead and get into the tire tiers.
Yeah, let's get a little more specific with it. Alrighty, so here is our tier board for Dover this week. Your favorite on DraftKings is Kyle Larson at 11,500. Then you have Byron, Elliott, Hamlin, and Christopher Bell are your top 5 prices there. Only 2 weird driver things this week. Brendan Poole is in the number 15 for Rick Ware Racing. I don't think anyone's betting him. And Alex Bowman out of the 48 car for 3 to 4 weeks. Josh Berry back into the Cup Series. He will be in the 48 car. So take that in mind when you're looking at these numbers.
Can I go ahead. You got it, Rod.
I think we both had that interject. Can I just say that I'm pretty sure Hendrick is going to take a long look at his extracurricular activity clauses in those contracts because that is now 2 Hendrick drivers that have missed multiple weeks due to an injury outside of the actual track that they're supposed to be racing on.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, man. Now you're in the same position Alex Bowman as Chase Elliott was in. It's a win to get into the playoffs here. Elliott, I'm sure, is a number 48 fan. You're not the happiest about it, but man, that was an ugly wreck. So I'm just happy he is going to be getting back in the car sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't worse, and I'm glad it wasn't more concussion symptoms, but it still sucks to have your guy out of the car. But hey, I'm a Dale Jr. fan and now Bowman fan. I'm getting used to it now. This is at least the 4th season that my guy has missed races with injuries going all the way back to those 2012 concussions. So it is what it is. You got to let the guys live their life, but at the same time, you got to keep your guys in the car for all the races. So we'll see what happens.
And what the hell is with Poole in the number 15? I'm sorry, but
he's more of a talented driver than JJ Yaley. I mean, he's still in the 51, but he's worth a shot.
Certainly. I just think there are better options in these Rick Ware cars than we're getting. I want to see more Zane Smith. Show me more Zane Smith, baby. I'm ready.
All right. Well, in any case, let's worry about who's in the cars this week at Dover. And Rod, let's start it off. Who's your first A-tier guy?
I know that I said that I'm going to go Hendrick heavy in this, but I got to tell you that the guy that I'm more excited about than anything is Kevin Harvick. Stop me if you heard that one before. The dude, listen, he's got his name on turn 4. Okay. This is his very last opportunity to dominate on a track that he is absolutely crushed on. You have to go all the way back like 9-10 races to find a race in which he hasn't finished inside the top 10. Dude has led laps around this track. Like, Dover is just as much Jimmy Johnson's or Kevin Harvick's track as it was Jimmy Johnson. Right now, he's not getting the wins that he's gotten, but for DFS purposes, Kevin Harvick at 9,300, no less, right? He's not even among the top expensive guys. You are getting amazing value on Kevin Harvick this week, and he's got to be a staple in all of your DFS lineups. And again, it's not just because I always bring up the number 4 car, because I do, but for good reason, especially in DFS.
Okay, Busch Light car, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready for those corn cans as well. Elliot, how do you feel about the number 4 and any one that excites you in this A tier?
Yeah, I mean, the 4 is not bad. We know Harvick is good everywhere. I believe I put him in my column as a driver who could go on a hot streak.
You did, yes.
But with how bad the Fords have been at Dover, at least compared it to, this week, we're going to be Chevy heavy. I like that. We'll roll with that this week. I got to put Chase Elliott in the ace. I mean, 10-8, you're paying up for him, but you're paying less than you would for the 5 or the 24. And Chase has had more success here than both of those guys. So that's not that it's a bargain, but I like that Chase is the number 3 guy there rather than the number 1 guy. You still got a couple extra $100 units, whatever, to play with there.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. If I'm paying up for a Hendricks this week, it is going to be Chase Elliott. Yeah. I mean, he's got a 75% top 5 rate here. That is insane. I'll be hammered down on him in a couple different markets this week. I'm going to go a different direction here. I'm going to go with a little bit of Toyota love, guys. I'm going to go with that. A guy I came into the season fading, but I've quickly fallen back in love with, and that's the number 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. Listen, I know there's there's the whole thing of where's Truex's true home track. Well, this is it. He's a Jersey kid. They're out down on the Delaware coast. 3 career wins here, 5 top 5s in the last 8 races. And before Talladega had 3 straight top 11 performances. I like Martin Truex Jr. He had a little bit of a discount of 10,000 flat, boys.
Well, my co-host there at the NASCAR Gambling Podcast would definitely disagree with you on that one. He is not in on Martin Truex Jr. for the rest of his life. He considers him a retired driver already. And so, but listen, I have hope that Martin Truex Jr. can get this turned around. We've seen flashes from him this season, so it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that he'll be able to do well. But at the same time, it's like, man, you got it. You just want to see it. You just want to see it.
I think this is like, I know we keep saying this, but I really don't know how many other good opportunities are coming for him to win this year. And This is one of them that I'm excited about him. So yeah, I'm willing to ride it for 10 grand this week. I don't see a lot of weeks where I have Truex in my lineup. So hopefully it's a good one. Rod, back to you here for another driver A or 2 from you.
I'm going to go ahead and go with another A, and I'm going to throw that 8 car up there. I think Kyle Busch, you want to talk about Chevy heavy, having Kyle Busch now in the 8 car, just to me, it's he's shown that he's stronger now without any of the distractions of whether or not he's going to be in a Gibbs car next year. Just he feels like he's more focused to me. And Kyle Busch has done well on this track in his career already. And I feel like he's going to get there again. He had a top 10 finish last year, So, and a top 10 finish in Phoenix. So I definitely think that we're in for a good Kyle Busch week. I want to see it happen for sure. And I think he's worth his price. Cause again, he's not among the expensive ones either. Kyle Busch is down there at 9,600. So I feel like you're getting a lot of good value on some of these drivers in the higher 9,000 range.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rowdy going on a hot streak again would not surprise me, getting that other win over the hump with RCR, getting 2 wins and really locking himself in a great position in points. Obviously, I don't have to worry about that. So Rowdy on fire would not surprise me in the coming weeks here.
Yeah, that's another one you called in your column, Elliot. Rod must have been reading you this week.
Must have taken a look, yeah. Rowdy was too easy of a pick to make. I wouldn't blame you if anyone else had that. We still got the 5 and the 24 on the board. Let's throw the 5 up in the driver A. Or if we've already done the Hendricks spiel, throw them both up there. Why the hell not? These guys, you're going to pay at a premium for them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if you have another Hendrick 1-2 or a Hendrick 1-2-3, Hendrick 1-2-3-4, Hendrick 1-4-6-8. They're all going to be running near the front. They're all going to have good weeks, and they're probably going to be worth paying up in the driver A tier.
Okay.
My only issue with that, though, too, in DK purposes or DFS purposes, is that I think one of them would have to lead a lot of laps, because if they start toward the front, you're not getting a lot of place differential, and to not have the one that doesn't lead the most laps, that's a little bit scary. So that's the only reason that it scares me so much to pay that much for those guys. Yes, they're going to be in the front, but if you miss out on the one that doesn't lead the most laps, that's why you got to play one in a lot of lineups, right? You got to have multiple lineups for these guys.
Yeah, so you pick the one, whether they lead the most laps or not. That's why you pick well down in the B's and C's category here. You listen to our picks down there, get some good value.
Yeah, I agree with Rod on the sentiment that out of if I am paying up for Larson or Byron, it's going to be whichever one qualifies later that I can get a little differential pointage here over on DraftKings. So agree with you guys there. Why don't we throw another Chevy up here? A guy that no one's really talking about this week or really lately, for good things at least. That's a guy, Ross Chastain. I mean, coming into this week, when I looked at it early on Monday, I said, well, Bowman's the pick. I said Bowman has been so good at these intermediates. He's been the fastest car on intermediates this season. Auto Club, Las Vegas, back to back. And then it came back and, Bowman's not racing this week. Well, who's number 2? Who's tied with him? Ross Chastain, baby, that number 1 car. I'm going to roll with Chastain here. I'll talk a little bit more about him later, but I'm heavy on the number 1 car, boys. I think Trackhouse in general is going to have a little bit of bounce back. Kind of been a slow last month for him. Let's see if they can get it going here. Rod, back to you. Any more A's or start the B's here?
I think we can start the B's. And I think I'll put Denny Hamlin in the B's. We had him as an auto bet to win because we're just started our Hamlin Mania bracket.
Okay.
On the NASCAR. I'm just, inspired by the fact that he decided he wanted to introduce a mid-season bracket into the NASCAR season, which, is a great idea. But, Hamlin, obviously good. He wants to get on a tear. He's already said it on his show that at some point he's going to have to start kicking it into the next gear. And on a track like Dover, again, he's been good on this track too in his career. So this is just a good start for him. I think he needs to do it. I think his season needs a big jump start, right? And I think this is a good opportunity for him to get it done after a frustrating day at Talladega.
And man, I wanted to be on Hamlin so bad this week because I was right there with you. I said, man, what a narrative Hamlin coming into this week. But last year, he just didn't finish or run very well here. Finished 21st, Rod. Does that concern you at all? That's where I just couldn't. He didn't have the speed here last year. But again, Toyota was kind of a different car in general at this time last year.
I mean, it does. But the fact that he led 67 laps, he did start in second position. He suffered a 21st place finish. But, I mean, he did have a car that led 67 laps. And, you give Denny Hamlin an opportunity to do that again. I don't think he makes that same mistake twice, whatever that cost him the good finish that day.
Right on. Elliot, back to you here, man. Take another driver B or two if you would.
Yeah, it's tempting to stick with the Gibbs train or to stay Chevy heavy. If a Ford is going to buck the trend, though, I'm thinking it's going to be Joey Logano. We were just talking about how Penske, they haven't done really well. They're a bit due here. He's at 8,800. Is he going to win the race? The stats say otherwise, but if a guy in a Ford is going to buck that trend, that 22 car would be the one to pull into victory lane.
I like it. Well, boys, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. I'm going to go with the number 48 car, not Alex Bowman, but Joshua Berry. I don't know what his middle initial is, but I want to say Joshua M. Berry because it sounds dope. So
I'll take a look while you talk about him.
Yeah, Joshua M. Berry, guys. 7,500. That's the whole deal. He's going to be a bit chalky. I think other people are going to see that, but I don't mind riding the chalk for a guy who's averaging over 40 DraftKings points in his limited time in the Cup Series. Listen, this guy's for real. Yes, I've heard the complaint that he doesn't like some of these faster tracks. However, he won here in Xfinity as well. Let's not forget about that. So I'm on the Josh Berry train this week. Hopefully that's Josh M. Berry, but for 7,500, I'll take whatever that initial is, Elliot.
Take that M and flip it around. Joshua William Berry.
Okay, all right. J. Will, baby. But back to you, Rod, here.
All right, I'll go ahead and toss up a guy that I feel like just gets forgotten quite a bit, and that's Christopher Bell. And I say forgotten. Everybody brings up his name, but then it just feels like you kind of forget that you brought up his name. So I'm gonna bring up Christopher Bell. He did finish 6th in Phoenix here earlier this season. So again, another mile track, but a good finish on that as well. Just another Gibbs car that I think has the opportunity to run well. It's really felt like it's been Gibbs and it's been Hendrick, right? Kind of at the class of this for the most part. And it's just a matter of who finishes well. Last season got himself a 4th place finish here in the 20 car. So, I think he's in for a good week as well. I like his price as well. The 10,300. It's a 10,300, but it feels like it's kind of still a good price for him to be a Class B driver. It's weird, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, I wish the price wasn't so high this week. I kind of rode him last week and he didn't do too much for me at that price. So I think I'm a little bit burnt and I'm off him. Elliot, any thoughts on the 20 or anyone else in the speed tier?
Yeah, I mean, the 20, a little higher than I'd like. Wouldn't surprise me if he lives up to the price, though. I'm going to dig a little deeper on the prices here for the speed tier, and I'll put Daniel Suarez on the board here. 7,800, averaging about 27 points. We were just talking about how track houses kind of do. They've run better on these sort of tracks than they would at a place like Talladega. We were not high on Daniel Suarez at all last week. I think he's worthy of some consideration here.
Okay. Boys, I'm doing it again. I'm going back to the well with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He has served us very well this season so far. I mean, he looked great last week, and I'll be honest, like, I know we like to give this kid nicknames, Ricky Stenhouse, Ricky Spinhouse, you name it, this guy's done it. But he looked like he didn't cause the big wreck. He was starting that third line and doing it gracefully last week. Last year, what did he do here at Dover? Only a second place finish. You're getting him for 7,300, averaging just about 36 DraftKings points per week. Give me some Ricky Stenhouse Jr., guys. Like, I feel like there's some legitness behind this JTG team right now. I like it.
Yeah, you actually took my value driver. I definitely like Ricky Stenhouse. And listen, honestly, he's sitting just outside of the top 10 as far as points per race, fantasy points per race goes too. I mean, it's Josh Berry sitting at number 1.
Woohoo!
You could throw that out. Obviously, he hasn't raced all the races. But Ricky Stenhouse right there with him. I mean, he's behind guys like Busch, Elliot, Hamlin. Like, he's in the mix. So he's quietly having himself a very nice fantasy season. So you love to see that. All right, well, I'll go with Tyler Reddick. A guy's got to turn himself around, right? At some point. I feel like he's just had one of those frustrating seasons. But even still, he's around the front as far as fantasy points per race goes. He's at 36. In fact, he's just above Ricky Stenhouse in that capacity. Hasn't had a bunch of good days, but he's had himself some solid days. On the dirt, he had 79 points. On the road course at Echo Park, he got himself 62. He's had some pretty solid fantasy days. I just feel like, at some point he's going to have to turn this thing around, and this might be a good place for him to do it.
Yeah, I was liking Reddick. I was thinking he was going to be my pick in the C's, but I'll just pick the other monster car and go with the 54, Ty Gibbs.
Yes.
He ran up front a little bit at Dega. Obviously, this is a different track. I think Gibbs is slowly starting to find his footing in this next-gen car. He's been in, if you count the substitute stint for Kurt Busch last year, for, I guess, not quite almost a year, but for long enough that he's starting to figure it out, starting to put together good runs, and starting to be in consideration for running up front more often.
Yeah, I like that pick there. I'm going to go back to the well here again this week. Todd Gilliland, boys. Todd Gilliland, man. We took the top 20 on him. We hammered down and got us through the week. We should have taken the top 10, man. Gilliland looks strong, just continues to have a really good season here. He has been so great for fantasy these last 4 or 5 weeks. And listen, he's going to have to start out back this week. Like, that's the thing. He's coming back into this number 38. That's a dog shit roll. Never heard of that coming into this week. That's a dog shit roll. But hey, here's the good thing for DraftKings. You're going to get differential points. So, Rod, can you explain that roll a little bit if you heard of that too?
I hadn't heard that rule.
The starting in the back rule?
For the 38, yes.
Yeah, I hadn't heard it either.
So apparently he is coming back into the 38, and it's like because he switched cars, he has to start out back is what we're hearing.
Yeah, I'd never heard that rule before either until now. Like,
so
Yeah,
maybe we need some verification on this.
Okay, I'll take a quick look here. But
yeah, we're gonna get some verification. But I did see like that, and at that, if he is starting out the back, he's gonna get you at least 10 differential points plus probably a 20th to 25th place finish. What's the price tag this week? 5,800. Yeah, I'll pay that this week for Todd Gilliland if I need a little bit of pivot play. Rod, back to you here.
I feel like that says something, though. If 3 avid NASCAR fans had never heard you have to start in the back because of whatever.
I think we hadn't heard of it because I don't think it's a thing. But figure out where you found that, Seth, and
I will.
We will issue a correction if that is the case.
It's so crazy.
I'm gonna throw the BS flag on you there, Seth.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, maybe I was just a victim to some fake news. You never know here.
Hey,
if it were to be, I think what you're thinking of is that if he had like qualified in the 36 at Dega and then was in the 38 for the race, he would have had to start out back. I don't think switching a car week to week.
Or the metrics, or if the metrics rule this, or if they have to set it by metric.
Right. If they were to set it by metric, that is a good point because the 36 is not entered this week.
Okay, I think that yes, that is what I. Thank you. Okay,
We figured it out. We did it, boys.
Hey, there's some sleuth work, boys. There's some sleuth work on the back row this week. Yeah, so no qualifying, throw him in there. If there's qualifying, I'm a little more hesitant.
With qualifying, still probably throw him in there because he's still going to start 27th. So
yeah. Toddy G, baby, we need some Dave back in this sport. We need some Dave. I need some, I want Dave calling the shots of this team. Well, no, the crew chief's great, but I need Dave in the box. I love me some Dave Gillen. Sorry.
All right. Well, I'll toss Eric Jones up there in the 43 car. And I do this because of fantasy purposes, obviously. For Eric Jones, he's actually not bad for what he's doing. He's giving you points almost every week. I mean, you don't necessarily like what you're getting more often than not, but the last week he did get you 59. A couple weeks ago, he got you 33. But on Dover actually is where I'm a little more inclined to like him.
Yeah.
Last season, he started 25th, finished 10th. Not bad place differential for that as well. In 2019, started 15th, got you 6th. Good solid finishes in those. So it's just a matter of having Eric Jones give you some place differential points because he's not necessarily starting the greatest, but he definitely finds his way up to a decent finish when he does. So give me Eric Jones this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm moderately intrigued by Jones here, but the legacy cars just have been.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard, but at 6,100, I get it. I'm not gonna tear you down too much for that. I'm gonna go with Chris Buescher here. We'll put him up in the C tier.
Yep.
Buescher is at 7,700. He's ahead of Barry. He's ahead of Stenhouse. I don't love that, but when you think about it, I mean, you think about Bristol and you think about Dover. Dover's kind of just a big Bristol in a way, and Chris Buescher won Bristol. There's a little bit of a connection there that I think the 17 could run well if the Fords, can figure out how to run well here.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go back to Chevys here, boys, because I can't get enough of them. I'm gonna throw a curveball here. It's Justin Haley. Yeah, I'm taking some shots this week. And listen, Justin Haley, man, 11th year in Cup last year, 10th average finish over his last 2 Xfinity races as well. I'm going to talk a little more about Haley later. I got a nice little special we're going to throw out for him. But, I think, honestly, that Colleague is going to come and race hard. This is one of their better tracks historically as an organization in the Cup Series thus far in their short tenure. So I'm liking the 31 car here. You're getting him at a value once again, 5,600. I don't mind playing guys like him and Todd Gilliland because then I can stack up the top of my lineup. I can get me a Truex. I can get me a Harvick and Truex combo, a Chastain and Truex combo. That's what I'm looking to do this week. So I'm looking to throw some of these dart throws in this C tier. So, Todd Gilliland, I'll take that and I'll raise it here with the Justin Haley.
Oh, man. We're getting to the point where I feel yucky talking about any of these guys. And it's sad because there's guys like Ryan Blaney still on the board, right? We haven't even talked about
terrible price tags. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're getting to the point where the value is not good enough for these guys to actually play just given what they've done in the past. I mean, do you want to take a chance on Noah Gragson as a D driver? Like, I don't know that I want to
do it. I'll throw him there right now if you want to.
Put him in the D. Put him in the D column. We saw, right? If I'm going to talk the 43 up, I might as well say that the 42 hung well. I mean, hung very well until he didn't.
He had to get on the gas there. What was he doing? Like, who's behind you.
I think he was on the gas, and Chastain just subscribes to the take every run, no matter how minuscule it is, and screw whoever is in front of you.
I don't blame Chastain on that one. I don't blame
it was. I mean, both of them messed it up, and both of them ended up junked, which is.
Oh, yeah, you lied out there for a minute, but yeah.
Both of them ended up junk, and that's what should have happened.
Yeah. All right, Elliot, back to you here. Sorry, all the legacy cars off the board.
Yeah, darn. No Jimmy this week. We will get the third legacy car. If Jimmy was in this week, I think probably he's
I'd roll a Jimmy.
Why though and Cody brought this up last night. I was so floored by it. Why didn't they bring him back? The 48's open. Bring him back one time.
48 is open, but here's the thing, and this was the same thing when Chase went. Everybody was like, bring Jimmy in or bring Corey LaJoie in. Jimmy Johnson is a co-owner of a rival to Hendrick Motorsports, direct manufacturer rival. So I would love it. Of course I would love it. It'd be so much fun. It's not going to happen, and it sure shit isn't going to happen for the All-Star race either. Good try. Thanks, but no thanks. Again, just because he's probably the majority owner of a direct Chevy rival team to Hendrick. So
at least put him in the 84 this week. Like, I'd rather see him here than a road course that he got
right,
one lap
yeah.
in. So.
But Jimmy's at the point where he's won Dover 37,000 times. He's going to go give himself a challenge. That's why he ran IndyCar for 2 years. But
yeah.
Anyway, I think we'll throw these two Penske boys that are left in the D tier. Blaney this week, every week that we have a guy who is like a top 10 to 15 driver in the sport who we just don't touch on because there's either the price is too high or he just hasn't run well here, or there's just been bad luck this season. And you can say that for both the 2 and the 12 car. Austin Cindric, I don't remember if he's been above a C tier other than maybe a Coda. He's a guy
been
who
dog all year.
Yeah.
Like if you want to talk about most disappointing seasons, Austin Cindric, absolutely atrocious. He's averaging like 17 DraftKings points. That's like worse than almost every driver other than like Noah Gragson. God, that's
he's pretty bad. His price this week is $6,800.
Won't do it.
You're getting value there, And with Blaney, $8,600. He's at average 34 fantasy points. He's run all right. He's had too much bad luck. The stats haven't been there at Dover for the Fords or for Penske. I'm okay with putting him in the D tier. It won't happen often. There'll be weeks where we throw Blaney back in this A tier. This is not one of those weeks.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't know where we want to put Bubba, but I think Bubba deserves either a C or a D. I mean, listen, dude cannot stay out of the front when you're on these super speedways. Like, we know what's going to happen every single time. It's going to be a shit show. But here we come to Dover. The guy has had good intermediate speed so far this season. Auto Club Las Vegas, actually a top 8 driver in terms of speed ranking at that Las Vegas race. So I like Bubba a little bit this week. After last week, no one's going to play him because they have that sting of what he did at the end for everyone who was playing him. So I think you could get a worse driver at his price tag right now, $8,000. It's a little bit steep. I think I'd rather play Suarez, but I think as a pivot option, Bubba Wallace, you could do worse. So he's in the C tier, but I want him way off into the right of it. So if anyone's got anyone else for the C tier, please put him above Bubba here. You got anyone, Rod?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to put Keselowski up there.
People keep saying it's coming for Brad every single week, and it's
put him in the D tier. Put both of those. Wait, is Buscher's already up there?
Buscher's gone.
I put Buscher in the C, but I think Keselowski in the D is fair.
Yeah, it's definitely fair. Although, I mean, look, to his credit, he does have at least 3 races in the last 4 with over 40 points, right? He had 58 last week, and then a couple of weeks ago he had 42. 51 the week before that. Not necessarily bad finishes this season, but you got to remember that last season at this track, he wasn't any good either. This was a bad year. He started 20th, finished 20th, didn't get you anything. 16th place finish in the 2 car. It's just frustrating to follow Brad. So maybe he goes better, but his price tag is also not necessarily what I like too at $8,400 for what we've been getting out of him.
Right.
Yes, I would rather, and I don't want to steal you here, Elliot, but I'm gonna go ahead and put Chase Briscoe in the C tier as well. Dude has 3 straight top 5s coming into this week. He's been brilliant. I'm afraid as hell to bet him every single week, and I haven't been taking any advantage. But I mean, at 8,200 here, you're getting a little bit of a value for Briscoe. So I would much rather play him this week than Brad, and I don't think there'll be as many people on him. So Briscoe, he can take that place from Bubba. Back to you, Elliot. Anyone else you want to touch on here in the D tier before we move to the F fuck you tier?
Yeah, I think with Briscoe, 8,200 is maybe a little steep. Same with Keselowski. And I was about to bring up Stewart-Haas Racing because you look at the number 1 driver we put on the board, and it's an SHR driver. And we're on to the D minuses now. And until we put Briscoe up there, we hadn't touched on any of the other SHR guys. You want to talk about a team that's heading to a dark place when Kevin Harvick retires? It very well could be Stewart-Haas Racing. These guys are intriguing. Well, at least the 14 and the 41 are intriguing. Eric Almirola is a known quantity at this point. But these guys, I mean, I think they're both D-tier guys, the 10 and the 41. We'll put them up on the board. They're worthy of being on the board. They're worthy of being on the board. The equipment's all right. My camera keeps cutting out. My camera's as bad as Stewart-Haas Racing. Almirola's price, I can't even find him on this board. $6,500. below McDowell. I mean, your value is going down further than you want it to when a Stewart-Haas car is behind Michael McDowell. So SHR, Kevin needs to pull this team up by its bootstraps, get them up, and get them ready for when he's gone, because otherwise it's not going to be very fun.
Well, so Briscoe's broken hand doesn't scare you at all? I mean, I'm just
Well, he's been great. He's been great so far with the broken hand. Got a couple faces in the chat. Giggles Car. What's up, Giggles Car? Thanks for making us part of your evening, man. Hope you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks for coming to hang out. And we got, I enjoy your show, guys. Thanks for supporting NASCAR. And he's saying the grid's out. Nope, not yet. No qualifying grid as of yet. Qualifying. What time's that on Saturday? I think it's an early morning qualifying.
It's gonna be rain out probably, but I don't know what time it's supposed to be. Probably Saturday morning. But
yeah,
don't get your hopes up. Is what I'm saying.
Don't get your hopes out quite yet. This is our way, Serpico, of kind of just ranking them in terms of DFS, how we like them. I know it's hard kind of without qualifying, but we'll see what happens here.
Anyway, shout out to that screen name too. Who doesn't love a little Serpico in their life, right?
What is that? What is Serpico? I don't even know what that's.
I'll explain it to you off camera.
Okay. All right.
It's too long. I don't want to bore the viewers with the story of an old '70s New York City cop. So
okay,
fair enough. We'll stick to the F tiers, and I have a feeling where you're going here, Seth. But we'll see.
Well, I was gonna make the case, and if you guys can talk me off a ledge here. But can we make a case for JJ Yaley in this D tier? I mean, he's averaging more DraftKings points than Austin Cindric this year. That's all I'm saying. He's worked with nothing. He's got a couple top 20s. I think it was 11th last week. Like, dude's got a little bit of wheels on him all of a sudden. Like, this is like 05 Yaley we're seeing in that Kellogg's car, boys. Can I make the case?
If it makes you feel good, Seth, go ahead. But
what car?
Buyer beware for any Rick Ware car.
What car are we ripping with Yaley this week? What even is this?
51.
Okay, yeah, okay, all right, 51.
Yeah. But listen, if you didn't even know what car he's in, that should tell you exactly why he's not a
Rick Ware's playing Ring Around the Rosies with their cars every week.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, remember when they had 4 of them in the field and they would flip them back and forth?
Wasn't Yaley ripping the 15 car earlier this year?
Yeah, they switch him up because our guy, his kid was in the 51 and then he had to come out, so then they've rotated around a little bit.
I think the 51's the best Rick Ware car because it was Cody's too, low key. Like I think it was. So yeah, I'm gonna throw Yaley maybe in a little lineup that I need a little,
Imagine this: JJ Yaley above Allmendinger, Harrison Burton, McDowell, your boy LaJoy, and Austin Dillon on the board.
But let me tell you how frustrating it is to be a Colleague Racing fan right now in any of these. Well, except for maybe Xfinity, they're doing well, but like. I don't know what it is.
They haven't won an Xfinity in a couple of weeks. So
a couple of weeks. Yeah, but they haven't won.
I mean, Colleague is used to being one of the better teams there. Chandler Smith, I think, got 1 win, and didn't he get that kind of at the last second anyway? So he lost at the last second and then won one. So
yeah.
In any case, Colleague is not quite doing as well as I'm sure they want to.
No, not even a little. So, shit. Well, I guess we're all down on the rest of these guys. I mean, BJ McLeod can't get excited about that. Ty Dillon can't get excited about that,
no.
Right? So
yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised that we're not higher on LaJoy with how his performance has been consistently better on ovals. I guess we just need the proof again because the last couple of weeks it just hasn't been there. Even Talladega, I put him in the goddamn B tier last week, and I don't think he was really out front a whole lot.
No, he was outside kind of working that outer line with Logano a couple times, but it really never came to fruition for him. I think he belongs in the Ds. Like, throw him in the Ds. I mean, you're still getting him at 5,000? Is that the price tag this week? Yeah. For 5,000, looking at the total speed rankings from iFantasy Race here, he's been solid this year at these intermediate tracks. Really, really solid speed. So I don't mind it for LaJoy. However, I'm not going to get too excited. 13th speed at Auto Club and 23rd at Las Vegas. So he will be kind of competitive. I don't mind Corey LaJoy. I don't mind. Like, I just think people know now. The secret's out. Like, if you need a guy for the 5,000 range, secret's out. That's why I threw out Yaley. So, Elliot, take us home with the rest of these.
A non-LaJoy shitter pick, kind of.
Yeah. Go ahead and give your 1 to 2 words about the rest of these guys. Let's get into some betting here.
Right. Well, I mean, we already told most of the story by putting all these guys behind JJ Yaley. So I think that tells the story here for the rest of these guys.
Okay. All right. We got Serpico saying, yes, it is a movie, but that's actually my
Al
last
Pacino
name.
played Serpico in the movie.
Okay. I either get that or the scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. All right, rock on, Serpico. We appreciate you, man. Let's go ahead, guys. Let's jump into a little betting here. I think we've kind of exhausted no Fs this week, as we call it, eh?
That's
All
right.
right.
Alrighty, Seth, where you want to start us off?
All right, let's just talk about the books this week before we get into it. Like, my overall impression was meh. I felt meh. Like, I know we're just getting off of Super Speedway with some very generous odds, and maybe that's how I feel about it. But like, a lot of these books were coming out. It's Kyle Larson plus 550, Byron plus 600. I didn't really enjoy it. The top 10 market is juiced again. Like, you're really not getting any value in that market. Rod, did you feel differently than I did? Because I felt less than inspired.
It was a little hard to find really good value on this, especially given, like I said, the fact that all the Hendrick guys are basically juiced to high hell, and you're not necessarily getting the value you'd want. And you're right, maybe we were spoiled by last week's Super Speedway pricing, but yeah, I mean, the head-to-heads were a little bit difficult to actually get anything that I really liked as well.
Agreed.
So yeah, it was kind of tough to find a lot of stuff that I like, but I mean, I was able to find a few good things, but yeah, not very bountiful as last week.
Okay.
Well, you mentioned the Hendrick cars are really juiced up. I'm curious where they have Barry in the books here. Obviously, he's priced a lot lower than the other 3 Hendrick cars on DraftKings.
Barry is at plus 4,000 to win, and
Yeah,
plus
so
no
that-
money for a top 5 actually.
That could be a very interesting route because we know that Barry's a decent driver. Obviously, he's not the model of consistency Bowman has been. He hasn't run all the Cup races. He hasn't had much Cup experience. But there could be some value to be had there just because Hendrick is so dominant at this place.
Yeah, I like that. I like that thought process, honestly, Elliot. I don't love 40 to 1 for when you get Ricky Stenhouse, Ryan Preece at 50 to 1. Like, that was kind of the hard pill to swallow for me, is that those guys were even further down the board. But yeah, I don't mind that play because, I mean, hell, it was what, three weeks ago, a month ago, when a 40 to 1 on Barry looked pretty good those closing laps. So yeah, I don't mind that play at all. Let's go into the outrights here. Is there any longer shots you liked, Rod, or were you taking more of this lower to middle tier here?
Yeah, I was kind of taking the route of Hendrick Motorsports anyways, and I was basically saying that this is probably going to be their race to win. Like I said, when you research yourself into a narrative, that's kind of what you end up doing. So as much as it's not sexy enough to take like the Kyle Larson in this instance, I think you kind of have to do it. But one that I did, surprise, I kind of talked myself into sprinkling something on Kevin Harvick at 11 to 1.
Big surprise there.
Yeah.
Can't believe that one.
Yeah. I mean, woo, but listen, Kevin Harvick at 11 to 1, it's a little departure. Yeah, it's a little departure from your top guys, and it's down the board enough to where it kind of feels tempting. Like I said, the narrative's there, right? His last Dover, that name of his is on turn 4. Like, it's gonna be a very emotional day for him, and he's always done well on this track. String of top 10s. All it's got to do is just inch his way back up for a win, and you're cashing an 11 to 1.
So Rod likes an old guy on this. I also like an old fuck on this. Give me Martin Truex Jr. We talked about him already. Depends what book you go to. Yeah. It's the price you're going to get on here. I've seen it as low as plus 900 on DraftKings. I'm going to go plus 1,100 over our friends at Barstool. I also like him for a top 5 plus 195. We already talked about it. 3 career wins, 5 top 5s in the last 8 races here. However, you look at last season, you see he finished 11th here. He was 4th going into that last turn before Ross Chastain gave him the little old wheel and turn. So, and then look at what he's done this season on these intermediates. 7th total in speed ranking across the intermediate tracks. 3rd fastest here last year as well. And I also like that he was the 2nd fastest car late in a run at Las Vegas. That tells me him and these Toyotas, we know it, they have the late run speed. So I like him here quite a bit at plus 1,100. I think he can be dangerous. Rod, anyone else you're looking out in the outrights for, or any MTJ love from you?
I mean, I've given myself to that 19 car, and it has not given me anything in return. So I'm a little off on him about as much as I am on Hemrick, off of Hemrick and Xfinity. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no. So what I also said too was now that we're only down to 3 real contenders for HMS, right? Even if you break up a unit and put something on all 3 of those guys as outrights, it kind of feels like a decent enough sprinkle. However much
cover all your bases because we know one of those guys is going to win, right?
Pretty much. That's what I'm saying. And for sure to be top Chevy, like that's one that I like too. Is putting all to a little bit on all of them to be a top Chevy.
Okay. What about Ross Chastain? I am going to throw, I don't think it's going to be a full half unit, maybe about a quarter unit on Ross Chastain to win this thing. Plus 1,400 feels like a value for a guy who's really fast here last season. As we mentioned, tied with Bowman for the fastest speed ranking on these intermediates so far this season. Second fastest at Dover last season, led 86 laps. It's time for him and this Trackhouse team to turn up. If they're going to turn up, it has to start now. They have to get on this summer kick. Elliot, you kind of talked about it in your column this week that now's the time to get going, get rolling for the summer. I think Ross Chastain at 1,400 plus 230 for a top 5 feels like a good value for me as well. That's everything I have in the outright market and in the placement market. Anything, Rod, that you might or Elliot might consider that we haven't talked about in that before we get to head-to-heads, matchups, groups, specials, anything like that?
Real quick, I took a look at top Chevy on Caesars. Larson plus 160, Chase and Byron plus 260. So they're pretty much favoriting you too. Barry plus 1,200. Again, if you want a value, if you think Barry's good, if you think the 48 just happens to be the best Hendrick car and the main guy isn't driving it, then it could be worth it. But
Rod, what do you recommend there? Do you recommend putting like a quarter unit on every one of them, or for that top Chevy, or would you put 1 or 2, or how would you play that as an experienced gambler in this space?
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you chop it up into a quarter unit per and kind of lay it all on as a unit, you're going to make your money no matter which one of them actually does. And it's interesting that you just read those off too, because when I had Barstool, I had Larson at plus 290, Byron at plus 350, Elliot at plus 400, and then of course Bowman was at plus 725. That's obviously not a thing anymore. But
I'm wondering if they retold some of those odds after. Did you get these numbers today or yesterday?
No, that was Tuesday on Barstool.
Tuesday, okay, yeah. So I'm sure with Bowman in the race, obviously they probably had those numbers a little differently.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'm seeing plus 400 for Chase right now. Byron plus 325, 225 for Larson. So they have.
So don't bet top Chevy on Caesars. That's what that tells you.
Yeah. Definitely shop around there. What? Anything else in this placement market or outrights, Rod, qualifying that you're thinking of?
I really do. I think, I know that the odds aren't sexy, but at plus 120 for a top 10, you look at the other top 10 odds, they're kind of disgusting far up the board. But if you're going to take a top 10 on Josh Berry at plus 120, I feel like that's a very solid bet because he's that last of the Hendrick Motorsports cars. And I fully see a top 10 in his future. So, at plus money for a top 10, it's hard to get. So if you can get it
in this economy, yeah. Yeah, how about it? Yeah, I didn't even think about playing Barry in the top 10 market. I did think about it outright, but top 10, I do like that number there, Rod. Let's go ahead. Let's move to some head-to-head, some groups, some specials. Again, I didn't love the matchups the books threw us this week. It felt like a lot of guys who, choose your poison here. So I'm going big game hunting. I'm saddling up on my Buffalo. And we're heading to Justin Haley plus 950 in Group C on Caesars. Yes, almost 10 times your money. You can get Justin Haley versus this group of hot shots. Bubba Wallace, Eric Almirola, Ricky Stenhouse. That one does worry me a little bit. I do like Ricky Stenhouse. Eric Jones and Dinger. But none of that.
I really like that on the first reaction. I really, really like those odds.
Thank you. And I felt like it was mispriced. Like he was down there with Dinger at 950 to win this group. Everyone else was kind of in that 2 to 4 range. I know it's a lot of drivers, but we already talked about that he got 11th here in Cup last year, 10th in his average finish at the last 2 Xfinity races here. And he has that 8th place finish at Las Vegas. We cannot overlook that, guys. Like that was Justin Haley's greatest performance so far on the season. He was the 8th fastest late in the run at Las Vegas as well. So he got better as the race went along. And he's been overall pretty decent at those at those intermediates, 21st in total speed ranking at the intermediates so far this season. So at 950, like I'm laying a half a unit. I'm not getting crazy with it, but like that could literally, if you hit that pays off this entire race. So that's what I'm trying to do with this. I'm taking a little bit of a long shot. Rod, Elliot, any thoughts on Haley or anyone else in this group? Maybe I'm overlooking.
Like I said, I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, I and that group, yeah, like you said, the only one that would scare me would be the one, and yeah, I'm good with that. I'll take it. You convinced me of backing.
Yeah.
I mean, Stenhouse is the only worry there, but Stenhouse is hot and cold enough that I could easily see, Haley Stenhouse would finish in 17th and Haley like 16th and winning that group. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have one more special to go through here, but Rod, I want to hand it to you. Anything in the head-to-head group matchups that we should be maybe peeking an eye on?
Yeah, I'm going to take, there's a one between Kyle Busch and Tyler Reddick. It's funny because the books probably were like, hey, we're going to take the two drivers that pretty much swap. So, and I'm going to take the Kyle Busch side of this. It is juiced up a little bit. I'm not on Barstool. They've got it minus 121 for Kyle Busch to Tyler Reddick's 108.
I'm okay with that.
When I saw it, it was at minus 115, which I kind of feel is a little bit better for that, but I'll still take it at 121. Look, Kyle Busch has won 2 races this season. All right. He's playing with house money right now. He's definitely, as Cody, my co-host for the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, like to say, he truly is locked in to the playoffs with 2 wins. If you're 1 win, you're not necessarily locked in. 2, you're definitely. So he's running a little more free. Tyler Reddick, yeah, he's got that win, but it's just been a very difficult season for Reddick all in all. That 1 win was like highlight, but last couple of weeks have been rough for him. 22nd at Martinsville, 16th at Talladega. He started the season rough with 39th and a 34th. He did finish 3rd at Phoenix, which was, great, which started that run of 3 good finishes for him. But I mean, outside of Bristol, outside of Coda, outside of Atlanta, it's kind of been a rough year for him. And I think that continues this week. And I think Kyle Busch is just, too good on this track too. And I think he'll finish better than Reddick.
Reddick's a specialist now. That's how I feel like you have to play him, is in those special circumstances, the road courses. Look for him in Chicago here in the next month or 2 when we go there possibly. I tried fading Kyle Busch. I tried betting against him last week. It did not pay off. So, Rod, I think you got me here, honestly. I think I will lay something down on this bet. I like this one a lot. Thank you for that. Anything else here that we should be looking at maybe?
No, I think I'm pretty much all good on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to throw a little bit of a special out there. Caesars, they got me back in. They're always throwing these little juicing them up for me, getting me in. They just sucker me right in, and I'm going in this week. This is a little bit of a hedge bet. Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., or Ryan Blaney to win this race at plus 325. I've already professed my love for Martin Truex Jr. this week, but I also do like Chase Elliott a lot too, and this is my way of getting a little bit of action on him. I've tried to find some specials on him the last couple of weeks, and we haven't really seen it in the markets. He has 9 top 5s and 12 races here. A 75% top 5 rate is just outrageous at any track, let alone Dover. So, Chase, I think you can get it going here. We already know the Hendrick love. Ryan Blaney, I think that's just a throw-in. I would honestly rather a lot of other drivers than Ryan. Like, if you say you can have Justin Haley rather than Ryan Blaney, I'll take it. He does have 2 top 10s here. Top 8 in average starting position. Maybe he pulls the son of a bitch, you never know. But yeah, this is more for the Blaney Truex factor, or the Chase Truex factor than the Blaney. But I do like that plus 325 at Caesars. I'll get down on that as well.
Maybe having Blaney in there brings those odds up a little bit because of they don't think he's going to win. So
yeah, absolutely. Rod, Elliot, anything else we haven't touched on tonight that you think our listening audience tonight should just consider as we head into the weekend? Obviously, I know we want to listen for P's and Q's. We want to be on the lookout for those times, but we might not get it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Just keep an eye open for what's happening because, a lot of the DFS lineups really do hinge on whether or not Bob Proctor's obviously a good follow. He's got the metric already laid out for you. So go find that and then adjust accordingly. Watch the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I will shout out as well. Derek Yoder has a post qualifying and practice podcast that he puts out for the NASCAR betting preview show. That's out on Spotify, iTunes. You can find him on Twitter. that's been very helpful for me to kind of just digest everything that we see on Saturday. So recommend that. Rod, tell us one more time where we can find you and everything you got going on other than the Backroad this season, my friend.
Absolutely. You can find me as the co-host of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast with my buddy Cody Zeeb. You can find it anywhere where you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, whatever. Yeah, definitely all season long, putting out 5 episodes a week. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be doing our Hamlin Mania bracket live fill out.
Nice.
Maybe not live. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll go live for that. Who knows? But yeah, you can get down on that.
Live at the time when you were doing it. You did
Correct,
it live.
correct.
And then you put it out.
Exactly. But follow us on Twitter at NASCAR Gambling. And then you can actually get in on it yourself too before Sunday. You can win a 124 diecast of Denny Hamlin for first place, or you can win a $50 Sports Gambling Podcast Network merch gift card for second place. So make sure you get in on that.
Oh, right. All right. For Elliot and I, you guys can find us here in Between Media. We are absolutely loaded right now. We got PGA, we got the NASCAR, we got the NFL. I'm excited to go watch this draft. I can't lie to you guys. Already put down a big boy, little 24-ouncer. We're feeling good. Elliot, take us home, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be an enjoyable one at Dover. Hopefully we get past the rain, have a good race, and hopefully everyone's bets are just as good. Thanks for rolling on down the back road with us, and we'll see you again next week where maybe I buy a new webcam.